everybody. Top of the morning to you. How are y'all doing? Well, really, it's not top of the morning here. It's rather late evening, but it is St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. For those of you who celebrate, I am not Irish. I don't celebrate. I don't even drink, but I will wear the celebratory green in the festivities of the holidays, right? So happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Philadelphia just made a new signing, everybody. Azeez Ojulari is now a Philadelphia Eagle, adding to the edge room of, I should maybe rephrase that, adding to the defensive end room of the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Patrick Johnson now. You got Azeez Ojulari. You signed Josh Uche. You have Jalix Hunt, Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, right? Like those are the guys making up the defensive end and the edge position here in Philadelphia. And again, low risk, high reward signing here by Howie Roseman. This is what he does. 1 year, $4 million for the 24-year-old out of Georgia. Started with the Giants for the first 4 years of his career. Productive player in terms of getting home to the quarterback, getting sacks. This past year, he had 6 sacks in 11 games. Again, he was with the New York Giants, so those sacks, do they mean much? No, not really. Okay, we get it. Bad team. Inflated stats. Understood. But he's still a quality player, a quality edge guy, okay? And he's really young. And when you pair him with other players that are in this locker room, when you pair him with Vic Fangio and Clint Hurt, I'm sure we're going to get a really productive season out of Ojulari if he ends up making the roster. My gut feeling is he will make the roster. 1 year, $4 million for the 24-year-old who had success in the NFL, setting the rookie sack record for the New York Giants his first year, coming off a 6-sack season over the course of 11 games. It's a productive player, okay? So a good signing by Philly, low-risk, high-reward signing, and that just seems to be the Howie Roseman model. This is what Howie Roseman does. And it bodes the question here, what is Howie's vision for this team? Because all these low-risk, high-reward signings, we're looking at this team and we're wondering to ourselves, we're letting all the veterans go from the number 1 ranked defense. You let Josh Sweat go, Milton Williams, Chauncey Gardner Johnson you traded. You let Mekhi Becton walk. And now you let Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Bradbury walk, right? You bring in Kenyon Green and a draft pick. You may be potentially cutting Dallas Goedert. What do all these moves mean? Like, what are we trying to do here in Philadelphia? We took a team that just won the Super Bowl, and a lot of people feel that Howie Roseman has been dismantling this team. I'm going to tell you that there is a plan, that it's coordinated, and it's very calculated by this front office. Howie's vision is not blind, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. There's a clear path to what he's trying to do. There is perfectly good reason for all the moves that he is trying to make. And like he said before, look at the offseason in a holistic manner. There's going to be a lot of moves that fans and other people on the outside are not going to like. But it's for the best interest of this team long term. And that's how Philadelphia and this front office views this football team. They view it long term. They don't look at it year by year. They look at it over the course of a few years. Like I can guarantee you, if you took Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, in this front office, and you sat them down and you asked them, how do you view this football team? How do you orchestrate your roster? They view it in chunks. 4 to 5 year chunks here, 4 to 5 year chunks here, 4 to 5 year chunks here. That's how they look at this roster. And you can tell it's evident by the way that they have rebuilt and built a Super Bowl team since 2017. Right? You look, we won the Super Bowl in 2017. Basically, the roster gets deconstructed from then till about 2020. And then in 2021, you got Jalen Hurts. You put him at starting quarterback, bring Nick Sirianni in, and now you have rebuilt this program over the course of the last few years. And now you're back as one of the perennial Super Bowl contenders. And now people believe we're on the downslope again because we're letting these defensive veterans go. And like I said, there's reason for that. And we're going to get to that in just a moment. But before we do that, I have to introduce the show because this is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi. And like you, I am an Eagles fan who talks about the birds, only the birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and commenting your thoughts in the comments section below, because it helps me get out to as many Eagle fans out there as much as possible on the World Wide Web. And also check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing. And in this economy, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to spend more money than I need to. So subscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing. It's very easy. Click the button. We thank you for your overall support. The vision for this team for Howie Roseman is simple. Invest long-term and put a lot of capital in terms of monetary value on the offensive side of the ball, and use the draft, the NFL draft, to supplement what you have on defense. And then once you have the core of your defense filled out, you bring in 1-year mercenaries on the defensive side of the ball. 1-year mercenaries here and there to fill out the roster of NFL veterans. That's what they've done. Look at what they've done on the offensive side of the ball. They've invested $250 million damn near on the offensive side of the ball. You signed Saquon Barkley long-term, A.J. Brown long-term, Devontae Smith long-term, Mailata, Dickerson. Juergens is going to be due for a contract soon. I understand that, but Lane Johnson here for another couple of years. You got Jalen Hurts for the next few years. All these guys are long-term, like the core of your offense is there long-term. And you invested a lot of money in this. And then on the defensive side of the ball, can you name me the player that has the big long-term contract? The only guy that you can name is Zach Bond. And even then, I'm pretty sure the way they structured that contract, I know it's 3 years. It might more likely be 2, depending on how his play is. There's nobody on the defensive side of the ball that has a really long-term contract. And that's by design. That's by design. When you have a coach like Vic Fangio and you hit on your draft picks the way that they've done the past 2 to 3 drafts, you don't need to invest long-term in certain players. It's why they let guys like Chauncey Gardner Johnson go and trade him, although they probably just didn't like him. But they let him walk. Mekhi Becton's another player, right guard. We let him walk. You bring in Kenyon Green, you have Tyler Steen, you have Trevor Keegan, you invested there. On the defensive side of the ball, you're bringing in Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari. You brought in, Bryce Huff in free agency, who they put a lot of money towards. But again, this year, next year, his contract's going to be up. If he plays well, he plays well. But he's a young player, a young edge rusher that they felt a lot of potential in, right? And then you drafted guys like Jalen Carter, Moro Ojomo, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jalex Hunt, Cooper, Quinyon, Reed, you got an undrafted free agent. Keely Ringo you invested in. Sidney Brown you're investing in. Like, there's a lot of youth on this defense. Not a lot of NFL veterans are littered on the defensive side of the ball. Again, that's by design. It's much easier to plug and play an NFL veteran for 1-year contracts, which is what they've done throughout the entirety of my Eagles fandom, and then invest long-term in quality offensive players. And I think for the most part, everyone believes that this offense is filled out. It's quality. Has all the talent in the world for Jalen Hurts and this organization to operate at its functional capacity. So again, why this design? Why build a roster the way Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have built it? Follow the money. Follow the money. That has been the rule in all investigative journalism, through politics, through scandal. Look at football teams. You follow the money. That's the simple answer. What moves can Philadelphia make to make sure that they get the most bang for their buck. They're investing long-term in this team over the course of the next 4 to 5 years. That's how they're looking at this football team. Now, I'm not saying that they don't care about what happens this upcoming season, where they're going to try to shoot for a Super Bowl again. Obviously, they're trying to win a Super Bowl. But if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, is it the end of the world to them? No. Because in 2026, they're probably going to say, hey, we can make another run here and build on what we did this past season. And you could tell because a lot of their draft capital in 2026, they have 12 picks in that draft. They have maxed out on compensatory picks, which is 4 by NFL standards. And they have 5 picks in the first 2 days of the draft in 2026. In a draft class that is apparently much more loaded with talent than this upcoming draft. It's why you saw Philadelphia not make any big swing signings on some of these players in free agency. It's why they're looking at low-risk, high-reward veterans here. They're looking at the 2026 draft, ladies and gentlemen. And why are they looking at the 2026 draft? Not only is it loaded with talent, but that's also going to be the time where they have a projected $40 million in cap space. And that money, a lot of that money, the way they're going to use it, is going to go to players like Jalen Carter, like Nolan Smith, like the Kobe Dean and all that jazz. But the big money is for Jalen Carter. Like, I don't know if you guys understand how excellent Jalen Carter is. I know you guys know. You're Philly fans. I get it. This guy's going to make so much damn money, and they're going to want to re-sign him and extend his rookie contract before he hits the open market and be able to set the market. He's going to get paid Chris Jones type money, Aaron Donald type money. He's that excellent of a player. 24 years old, the stalwart of your defense, the driving force of what made it the number 1 unit in all of football. This guy, Jalen Carter, they have to find a way to pay this man so much money that they're going to let Chauncey Gardner Johnson walk. They're going to let Mekhi Becton walk, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. They're going to let those guys walk because they got to pay that guy. They got to pay 98. That's what all these moves mean. That's why Howie Roseman is building the team the way he is. That's what all these moves, that's why everything, like I said at the top of the show, is calculated, orchestrated, planned. It's all because they got to pay that guy. They got to pay him. They got to pay Davis. They got to pay Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean. They got to pay all those guys big money. And then after that, you got to pay Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, big money. Believe it or not, in like 3-4 years' time, you're going to look at this football team and you're going to say, wow, all of their stalwarts are on the defensive side of the ball. Like these next 2 to 3 years, the offensive side of the ball, totally locked in. Don't have to worry about extensions. Don't have to worry about roster construction. It's all there. The defensive side of the ball, they're investing here, developing the youth, getting veteran coaching staff, investing draft capital here. And then as the offensive contracts start to go down and the defensive contracts start to go up, you're going to start to see the flip in philosophy where they're going to invest young on the offensive side of the ball, where they're going to get mercenaries on the defensive side of the ball at that point in time, and then the projection is going to switch. That's why Philadelphia gets these ups and downs, these peaks and valleys. That's why. They're playing with money. It's why guys like Chauncey Gardner Johnson are traded. It's why Mekhi Becton walks. It's why they're probably going to cut Dallas Goedert or trade him off to another team to get rid of that $12 million cap hit. They're fooling around with money. And I don't mean fooling around in terms of dismissive fashion. I'm talking about they're playing a different game than every other team in the National Football League. And it's all because Jeffrey Lurie is willing to let Howie Roseman manipulate the cap the way he does. No other owner manipulates and lets a GM manipulate the cap the way Jeffrey Lurie allows Howie Roseman to do so. So it's why you don't see a lot of teams replicate this model. No owner is willing to throw the money up front for all of these expensive offensive players like AJ, Devontae, Saquon, Jalen, Landon, Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson. Like, what owner is going to be willing to pay all of those players $250+ million? Again, this organization is just playing a different game than everybody else in the NFL. And that's why I'm saying Howie's vision, Howie's plan, very methodical, very orchestrated, very planned out. So please, as Eagle fans, I urge you to think about this team over the course of the whole offseason, long term. And don't believe that Howie Roseman is leading you astray, leading you down a path where you're going to be driving off a cliff. That's not the plan. You're going to have a team that's going to win 11 to 12 games. You're a team that's going to make the playoffs. And when they're in the playoffs, as we just saw this past season, as long as Philadelphia makes the dance, anything goes. They're built to be a menace in the postseason. They're built for it. They're designed for it. They got the players for it who have been there and done that. The organization, the coach, the quarterback, everything is lined up perfectly for them to go out there and make a run, not only just based on aura, but just based on, hey, instead of punching you in the mouth with the defensive side of the ball, we're going to beat you by scoring 25 to 30 points with this offense, because that seems to be the transition of this team. That's where they want this team to go. And then you supplement the number one defense with young, youthful talent. It's brilliant work. It's really just brilliant work by Howie Roseman, this front office, and this organization, because, guys, like I said, there's no team that operates like this. And again, we don't have a quarterback like Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow where we can invest in the moment by, flushing all this money in veteran players. That's what the Bengals did. That's what the Chiefs do. Right? You got to win now moment. Philadelphia doesn't look at this rendition of the team as a win now team. They're looking at it, okay, this team can last 5 to 6 years. How much can we optimize winning within that 5-6 year window by also saving the most money? Never has this team been over the cap. Never. Not with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. They hate it. They don't want to do it. They don't plan on doing it. And again, it's why all these moves are so planned and calculated. I've said before in the past, I've criticized this team by saying, hey, you think you're the smartest guys in the room and you shouldn't think like that until you have some hardware. Well, you know what? They have 2 Super Bowl titles since 2017. The way they have built this organization, the way they've built this program, the way they've built this team, it does suggest that, hey, we're just smarter than some of the other guys in the NFL. Everyone else in the NFL is trying to catch up. Philadelphia is at the head of the table, wearing the crown, wearing the hardware, and they're looking at everybody else trying to make all these big splashy signings just to keep up with them, when they can just sit back, look at the landscape, and make monetary investments that are low risk, high reward. That's how they play. Everyone else is playing checkers, and the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the few teams in the NFL that are playing chess. And they got the strongest piece on the board in Howie Roseman. Hey, thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.